Welcome to today's video. In this episode, we're going to explore Canada's strategic importance, its relationship with the US, and how its vast mineral resources and geography make it a country of immense potential. We'll also touch on the role of tariffs and explore opportunities for growth and exploration. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into the fascinating relationship between Canada and the United States, as well as the incredible mineral wealth that lies beneath Canadian soil. But first, let's talk about why Canada is so important to the world and its neighbors to the south. We will also discuss about tariffs and its past impacts on world trade. Canada and the United States share the world's longest undefended border, and for over a century, these two nations have had deep economic and political ties. But while the relationship has generally been friendly, it hasn't always been without its challenges. One of the most prominent issues in recent years has been tariffs. Trade tariffs can make or break an economy, and Canada and the US have been through their fair share of trade disputes, especially with industries like steel, aluminum, and softwood lumber. These tariffs have caused tension, but they've also highlighted just how important trade between the two nations is. Now, let's shift focus to something Canada has in abundance: minerals. Canada is rich in natural resources, with some of the world's largest reserves of precious metals, including gold, silver, copper, and rare earth minerals. These resources are not only crucial for Canada's economy but also for global industries. Canada's mining sector is a major driver of its economy, contributing billions of dollars every year. With global demand for electric vehicles, clean energy technologies, and electronics on the rise, minerals like lithium, cobalt, and nickel are becoming more valuable than ever. Now, when it comes to potential exploration, Canada is a land full of untapped opportunity. From the rugged terrain of the Yukon to the vast wilderness of the Northern Territories, there are still massive areas yet to be fully explored for their mineral wealth. With advancements in exploration technology, we're now able to access resources in previously difficult-to-reach places, and regions like the Arctic, which were once considered too remote, are being seen as increasingly important for future resource extraction. And then, there's Canada's geographical importance. Stretching from the Pacific Ocean in the west to the Atlantic in the east, and from the US border to the Arctic Circle, Canada sits at a geopolitical crossroads. Its vast northern reach gives it control over vital shipping routes and access to the Arctic, an area that will become even more significant as climate change opens up new opportunities for trade and exploration. Now let's move on to the next topic. Why is Panama Canal important to Canada and world trade, and how the latest Black Rock deal can have an adverse effect on Canadian trade? The Panama Canal is one of the most important trade routes in the world, and it significantly impacts both US and Canadian trade, particularly when it comes to shipping goods between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. As a neighboring country, Canada relies on this trade route for its own international trade, especially exports to Asia and the Americas. Many of Canada's goods are transported to the US, and from there, the US exports them through the Panama Canal to Asia or other global markets. If the US strengthens its control over or interests in the Panama Canal, it could alter global trade flows, potentially impacting Canada's ability to access certain markets efficiently. Canada also uses the canal for some of its exports, particularly to Latin American markets. If the US focuses more on its own military or economic interests in Panama, it might influence the canal's operations or agreements in ways that could have ripple effects on Canada's trade. Now let's move over to Greenland. As climate change melts the Arctic ice, shipping routes through the Arctic are becoming more viable. Greenland, as a key part of the Arctic, plays a role in the development of these routes. The US is already focused on securing Arctic routes for its own military and trade purposes, and Canada's access to these routes could be influenced by US activities in Greenland. Canada, with its vast northern coastline, is closely linked to Arctic shipping routes. If the US gains more control over Arctic routes, via Greenland, it could affect Canada's ability to utilize these shipping lanes for its own trade with Europe, Russia, and Asia. Additionally, More US military presence in Greenland could lead to strategic competition in the region. As ice melts in the Arctic, new shipping lanes are being opened, and Canada's proximity to these routes makes it an essential player in global trade. But this also presents environmental and geopolitical challenges, as nations look to control these new pathways. So, what does all this mean for Canada's potential for growth? Well, with its abundant natural resources, strategic location, and increasingly important role in the global economy, Canada is poised for continued expansion. Growth in sectors like clean energy, technology, and mining means that the future is bright for Canada. Now comes the key question. Do you think it's a coincidence that American investment giant is buying ports in Panama? Do you think it's a coincidence that the idea of Canada becoming the 51st state came along the same time? Do you really think it's a coincidence that ownership of Greenland came into international politics at the same time? What do you think will happen if US have complete control over the Panama Canal and the Arctic waterways by controlling Greenland? That is a chokehold which cannot be released that easily. Despite challenges like fluctuating trade policies and global economic shifts, Canada's ability to diversify its economy, coupled with its stable political environment, makes it an attractive place for international investment. So, to wrap things up, Canada's geographical importance, vast natural resources, and its growing role in the global economy make it a key player in both the North American and global markets. Whether it's navigating the challenges of US-Canada trade relations, tapping into its mineral wealth, or positioning itself as a strategic partner in Arctic exploration, Canada's potential is truly remarkable. Thanks for joining us today to learn about Canada's potential and its relationship with the US. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this. And as always, let us know your thoughts on Canada's future in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.